Human Interaction in American Business. Does good business etiquette allow me to tell jokes in the workplace?
Jokes are very revealing in the workplace. A person who tells sexual jokes or jokes that target a gender or a specific ethnic group really show their bias and their limited thinking and lack of compassion. I think everybody needs to know 3 jokes. I really do. I think joke telling is wonderful in the workplace. You know, in the old days, with the thought of hanging around the water cooler telling jokes doesn't happen much anymore. A lot of gossip happens in the workplace, but joke telling really doesn't, and it can be very cruel to people if you don't know all the people in the workplace.
Can workplace gossip and good business etiquette coexist?
Gossip is a problem in the workplace. And now think about this, whether you're passing on good gossip or negative gossip about someone, it still cuts into the productivity of the workday. And it demeans characters. And it causes a snowball effect that people take and then they retell it in their own language, and it becomes very distorted very quickly in the workplace. And usually higher ups are often at target. But people low on the corporate rung are also guilty of banal conversation that targets and demeans other people and nationalities and genders and sexual orientation. They're inappropriate. We're all gentle. We're all very vulnerable in the workplace to gossip. And if you've ever been on the end of gossip, you'll realize how truly devastating it can be. I've seen it happen, and it's a sad state of affairs.
How do I respond if I become the target of gossip in the workplace?
Go to your immediate manager, your immediate supervisor, and tell them what's happened, and ask their advice on how to handle it. Usually things that happen like this are handled from management. And, manners, it's very interesting, but manners comes from the top down. All etiquette comes from the top down in companies. And if a senior executive or executives insist that that's part of the corporate culture, that's what happens. Usually there's a no tolerance for gossip in today's business. It's becoming more and more prevalent.
What is the proper way to excuse myself from participating in business gossip?
I hold up my hand, which is the universal sign for stop, and I say, I really don't want to have this information. This is not information that I need to have. And I turn and walk away. I teach people how to treat me in the workplace. And if I create boundaries, then people learn to honor those. Actually, the person who listens to gossip is as at fault as the person that creates the gossip or passes it on. You're both considered having weak character. So it's not just the gossiper, it's the gossipee who gets the brunt end of that one. It's better not to play it all.
How can good etiquette make me a better manager?
There's an invisible line with managers in the workplace where you want everybody to like you. That's the herd mentality. We all want to be liked. It's our basic nature. And yet healthy boundaries with people in the workplace require that you give critique, not criticism, but critique. Let's go over your project and see how it's going and then offer feedback rather than blowing up and saying this is not good work. And still, critique creates good managers because then they feel like they can come to you if they have problems or issues. If they're afraid of you, they won't come for fear of being criticized. So it's learning how to give good critique.
Is it appropriate to show anger in business?
The workplace is a great place for anger, and it's the wrong place to bring it up. Again, the more professional you are, the more stress you can tolerate, and the higher chances you'll have for advancement in the company. Anger really is inappropriate in the workplace. Some advice that most of our parents or grandparents gave us was count to 10. I think that's good advice because the repercussions for showing your anger in the workplace are greater than any satisfaction you get from losing your temper.
How can business etiquette help me when someone's angry with me?
I freeze like a statue, and I don't blink if somebody is using anger at me or in my direction. I just freeze. And if there's no response, and I give what I call flat affect, there's no way that they can continue to be angry, because you've broken rapport. And people do not like being out of rapport. And if they sense that, they backtrack and realize what they've done, and they've got to move back in rapport with you. They have to. It's the human condition.
Is sarcasm appropriate in a business setting?
Sarcasm is inappropriate in business. It comes from the Greek word to tear, sarcasm does, to tear flesh. And that's what it is. It's sarcastic. We all laughed in the 70s at the television show All in the Family with Archie Bunker. That's not appropriate today. That kind of sarcasm in the family or in the workplace is inappropriate when you demean and belittle other people's beliefs. The humor didn't last in culture, in society. It's not appropriate in business because really what people are trying to do when they use sarcasm in the workplace is to get people to leave them alone. And that's what you want to do. If people are sarcastic, give them what they want and leave them alone.
What is the etiquette of giving a compliment in business?
Giving and receiving compliments it's important to know. I'm a big fan of both giving and receiving compliments. Let's talk about giving compliments in the first place. Compliments are easy to give in the workplace as long as you don't comment on someone's appearance. It's best to comment on someone's behavior. For example, great job on that report. The footnotes really made it. The more specific you can be about a compliment, the better. You don't want to say, gee, Joe, you look great today in that suit, or Mary, you look terrific in that skirt. Those are inappropriate for the workplace. Giving compliments is a way of bringing someone up to your level. And if you're in senior management and you give someone a compliment, it encourages them because it makes them feel like they're worthy.
What is the etiquette of receiving a compliment in business?
When someone gives you a compliment, the ideal way to respond is by giving a compliment in return. For example, coming from you, that means a lot. Or, you're too kind, which is the most common response that I think that I hear. That I know it's the one that I use. You're very kind to say that. It's giving a compliment in response to a compliment. And if you give compliments and you receive them well, you'll get more. If you say, oh, it was nothing, then it makes that person wish they hadn't given you a compliment at all. It completely demeans the value of their input, which you also don't want to do.
How can etiquette help me deal with the office whiner or pessimist?
Office pessimists are in every office. There's someone who always sees the glass half empty. And they're a little bit like the sarcastic. We need to just leave them alone. You cannot argue with anyone who's sarcastic, and you can't argue with a pessimist. Even though it's their negative way of trying to get attention and response, to irk you, to build your ire, to pull out the worst in you, if you ignore them, then there's no way they can engage you. So I stay on the edge of rapport with people that are both sarcastic and blunt, and people that are negative and pessimistic or who complain a lot. I won't listen. And again, I'll either angle my body to be out of rapport with them just slightly, or I'll look away while they're speaking and then walk away. We teach people how to treat us. And the people who complain most about this are people who don't understand how to be on the edge of rapport. So please, try some things without resorting. Use behaviors instead of saying anything. Just walk away. Leave them alone. That's what they want. Let them have it.
How can etiquette help me work with someone I don't like?
Not liking someone in the workplace is more common than you might imagine. We create a lot of enemies in the workplace. And there are people that just don't have personalities that are conducive with the rest of the office. There's always one or two. There's always one or two family members in a family reunion that, they can upset the apple cart. And that's unfortunate. I just show compassion to everyone without trying to be their friend. You can do it on the edge of rapport and still smile and nod and say good morning without having to engage them in conversation.